Hi everyone, today let's talk about Peloton, as well as fear and greed, and the economic data. Then we'll get into the charts, as well as my results for the day and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open, as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So looking at Peloton, they announced a deal with Lululemon. Lululemon is a massive brand that continues to do very, very well in the athletic space, and they're trying to expand into fitness a little bit. They also said that they are going to discontinue sales of Mirror, which Lulu owns, which is interesting. And you can see Peloton jumped a lot, 83 cents, which was close to an 18% growth on their share price. They say that Lulu is going to be the primary athletic apparel partner for Peloton. Lulu is worth about $48 billion, whereas Peloton is worth only $1.7 billion currently. Peloton has fallen significantly since its COVID highs when it was really overvalued, but maybe this will give it a little bit of life and some potential for growth going forward. Moving over to fear and greed, I wanted to highlight that we got into extreme fear here for the first time in a long time. We were at 26 yesterday, we got to 25 here today. 1 week ago, we were at neutral just to show the weakness that we've seen over the past couple of weeks. Definitely in fear on momentum, extreme fear on stock price strength, as well as market breadth. Put call ratio hitting extreme fear. You can see how high the puts are getting on the put call ratio. Volatility spiking up. We've been watching that on the charts. Safe haven demand absolutely continues to go higher. But in terms of junk bond demand, they are saying junk bonds are still in extreme greed, which is interesting. Moving over to the economic calendar, core durable goods, pretty good month over month. Headline durable goods also better than expectations. Overall, pretty good on the day. 5-year note all the way up at 4.65, very high for yields. Looking at tomorrow, we have GDP numbers at 8:30. That could definitely move markets a little bit. If the numbers are good, we might see a little bit of Russell outperformance. That could be interesting. And then pending home sales at 10 o'clock, 7-year note at 1300. And then Jerome Powell speaking at 16 and the Fed balance sheet at 1630 tomorrow. Moving over to Max Pain for the Friday expiration, you can see we're down to about 1 million options. Quite a few options came out of the market here today. Definitely interesting. Max Pain, 432 now. That's down a little bit from the previous read. 426 on current stock price. Put wall still all the way up at 434. Bigger put wall at 422. That one's probably going to hold this week, in my opinion. 424, that one could hold as well. Maybe we start to look for a finish in this 425, or maybe even all the way up at 430. That could be interesting. Right now, this looks a little bit more bullish than I've seen in a minute. Obviously, it's been very weak. We've been all the way down at the bottom of the calls. Interestingly, put call ratio currently at 1.18. That's also pretty low, but this will be interesting to watch going into the Friday session. Moving over to the charts. We were super bearish at the beginning of the session, super bullish right at the end of the session. Look at this wick on the daily chart. Definitely interesting, showing some signs of life here on the SPY. Hourly chart, 2 hours of bullishness, really the 1300 candle. Very, very strong. And then we rallied up a little bit more after hours. We saw a nice break of that 425.82 level after we broke down. Clear rejection, growing volume on the rally. Definitely interesting in my opinion. We didn't make it all the way down to my next level at 421.85. You would have liked to see a tag of that before we rallied up. But look at this volume right here at 426. Big volume on the hourly chart. Decent amount of volume here on the daily chart. And I do think we're going to see at least a little bit of a pullback here in the short term to the upside. Moving over to the NASDAQ, very similar thesis. Dipped down, broke those levels, rallied up, rallied here after hours. Inside candle on the daily chart. Doji looks pretty clean. Could absolutely look for a pushback up to the 9-day moving average all the way at 362.28. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen all in one push or in a short time frame. Could take a couple of days to get to that level. But even if we did, that would be a nice little rally of about 10 points to the upside. And I do think that that is possible here. This dip and rip did look pretty clean. Again, building volume, and it does look pretty strong to the upside. Daily momentum stepping down a little bit. And we've been looking for some bullish signs for a few days here, and this is another one of those here today, in my opinion. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. Russell showing strength throughout the session, looks pretty good. You can see that wick down that we did still get on the 4-hour chart. Dow, also big wick down, also showing some strength. Again, you want to see it get above 335.91, but you could absolutely see a push higher here. Volume on the last 2 days has been bullish. Volume on the last 2 days on the Russell also bullish. Bullish momentum here on the 4-hour chart. And it does seem probable that we'll see at least a little bit more bullish price action into the next day or two. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, we did not see the same kind of strength from Apple, which is interesting. Big move lower in the pre-market, big wick down, but it held right at that same low here. It is below my 170.90 level. This is still pretty bearish in my opinion. Tesla, on the other hand, showing kind of a double bottom type setup. Didn't get to my level. I was still watching 323.57, and we still could get into that zone, but you can see a little bit of divergence. We talked about that. Much lower RSI read with the same price action, showing a little bit of potential for strength in the next session or two. Moving over to Peloton and Google. Peloton has been on a downtrend for a very long time. The stock was super high just a couple of years ago, and now we're all the way down in the 5 range. Obviously not a great time for Peloton, but zooming in here, you can see we did get a little bit of a tick up, found a little bit of strength. Then we got the announcement pushing up, some signs of life, might be worth a little bit of a trade here and there. Could be interesting on a very beaten down stock. Alphabet, on the other hand, showing a very bullish day, up 1.55% after taking out that 55 EMA. Similar to the NASDAQ, we got a step down towards bullish on momentum. And if this starts to follow through a little bit, you could see a price of 133.86 or push back up to this previous high at 138.21. That could be interesting. Clearly in this previous consolidation, we held here for a while once we got into this zone the last time. If it holds, could see a right shoulder or potentially at least a double top. That could be interesting, but one of the best performers here with Google. Moving over to Staples and Discretionary. Staples still super weak. Big down move. Still through a wick. Quite a bit of volume on that wick, though. Definitely interesting. Needs to get above 68.91. If it holds there, maybe we could look for a little bit of a rally. But right now, this still looks super weak. Discretionary, on the other hand, came into a level, 158.03. Held that level, rallied a little bit, up a little bit after hours. Again, this is going to move with Tesla, which also looks a little bit stronger. You can see that same divergence. Much higher price action, much lower RSI, lower price action, higher RSI. Could be looking for a little bit of a rally here in my opinion. Moving over to breadth on the 50 and the 200. You can see both of these actually had green days on breadth. You can also see that same divergence, higher prices with lower RSI, lower prices with higher RSI, potentially looking for that up move. It does seem like that's going to start coming here. You can see on the 200-day average, we got into these previous wicks. We talked about that happening after we got the break a couple of days ago. We finally got into that zone. We didn't hit my level at 36.23, but we're very close here. Definitely interesting. If we throw a couple of wicks like we did here in May as well as March, we ended up getting some pretty decent rallies out of those zones. So if we get something like that, and this is the start of it, could be a nice move to the upside in my opinion. Moving over to yields just for a moment. Not much to say here besides that the 10-year yield is continuing to rocket much higher every single day. Moving over to the dollar here on the hour and the daily. You can see we went parabolic here, pushing up much higher. I added a level here at 106.84. Touched that level, broke down a little bit. If it gets above it, next level for me is up at 108. It's also worth noting we are super overbought here now on the daily chart. This last move was pretty parabolic, and it does seem like we're due for at least a little bit of a pullback, similar to what we had here at the end of August. Moving over to the volatility indices, MOVE index continues to go higher as yields continue to go higher. VIX, on the other hand, threw another big wick to that same level, broke down a little bit. Momentum still bullish, but RSI pulling back a little bit. Definitely interesting at this level. We said the 19 to 20 area was going to be tough to get through right at these previous highs. Doesn't mean it can't do it. It could absolutely push up to 2250, certainly possible. But we saw a pretty clear rejection on the VIX and a pretty decent boost off of that support on the S&Ps and the Qs charts. Moving over to my positions, you can see I was down technically $100 or so, but you can see I lost about $168 on these covered calls that are currently at $3.55 for a $1.52 credit. Still have shares here, so my max profit there is actually at $356.53. So I've got quite a bit of room to the upside before I'm actually losing money on those calls. I also sold some puts here for the first time in a while. 354 puts for $1 for tomorrow's session. Small profit there. And then I ended up selling some calls to protect myself to the downside. I ended up rolling those up and out pretty significantly, and I might turn these into a second covered call position. We'll see how that one plays out. If this starts to look pretty bullish in tomorrow's session, maybe I'll add those shares. If not, I'll just collect the $1.41 credit on those over the next couple days. Overall, I am currently neutral, but starting to look a little bit more bullish in my opinion. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of Lulu and Peloton teaming up. Is Peloton worth watching, or is that a dead company? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.